Tony, aside from winning games, what would you like to accomplish this week in Hoover?
To have the pitching sorted. You want to use a certain amount of guys, get them action. It's been a little bit. Heck, even Deloy started a game for us, but some time will pass. So you'd like to keep guys in somewhat of a rhythm, but it's also an imperfect time of year. So they need to be willing to go at whatever time and take on whatever role, which there literally could be something come up where it's the first time they've done it all year. But you take the ball and you run with it because it's the same deal. We're in a race to get 27 outs, and however we can get them, we'll take it. So we'd like to use those guys, as many of them as possible, and not wear anyone out to the point where they're breaking their record for personal amount of pitches thrown. And then to prepare the right way, so we're in a rhythm of even staying hydrated, you name it, but make sure preparation is going the way that it's been most of the year for us, because I believe firmly it'll bleed into the game if we're doing that.
You kind of touched on it there, but always being mindful of pitch counts, but even more so maybe this week in Hoover, knowing what's coming up.
Yeah, a little bit. I think if you look at our innings pitched, they're spread out. We always try and do that. The 10-run rule kind of messes with it a little bit, but they're spread out pretty good. So even though certain guys have made a bunch of appearances for us, no one has really, kind of maxed out innings. I think Drew is in a position where he'll come close to what he did last year. I don't even know what his number was, but he's kind of held a steady pace. But there's been a lot of games, too, where he's frustrated. He's only at 100, but he feels good, and he can keep on going. So I don't know what that magic number is for each guy, but I do think we have a sense of how much they've been asked of this year and what they're capable of doing, and I think we're in a good spot. So, don't want to go crazy, but again, I think we're in a good spot.
How good has Dylan Dreiling been for you guys? And is there an element where he maybe doesn't get noticed as much outside this program as a guy that does what he does typically would?
Well, he's a draft-eligible sophomore, and I think he's getting noticed plenty by the people that'll take him away from us. So maybe that's what matters most. I don't know how much applause he gets online at times when he does things, but when his time is done, he's going to have about as many highlights as anybody that's played here, and only had done it in a short amount of time, and a lot of those coming as a freshman. Not only that, a lot of them coming off the bench as a freshman where he wasn't getting as many repetitions as other people. So I don't know how you pick one guy apart and say we would be the same team without him, and I don't know how you do it the other way too. It's been, if you look at every day, you could say one day, well, this is the key player, or this was the best pitcher. But if you look at every day that we've been here on campus since August, I wouldn't want to be without anyone that's with our team currently. And I don't know that we could accomplish what we've been able to do thus far without all of them being involved. And it could be anyone on any given day that's the hero, but everyone seems to be involved when we're playing.
I think coming into this weekend, or maybe it was last, he was leading the team in RBIs with 54. Other than his spot in the lineup, what is that a testament to that he's able to produce that way?
I think keeping calm. A guy like David Ortiz is considered clutch because of what he was able to do in the ninth inning and extra innings, but he also probably hit a bunch of homers in like the second inning of his career. I think it's just him being him. And maybe other guys get wrapped up in the extra yelling in the stands, or maybe back and forth in the dugout, or what the count is, or the scoreboard. And he seems to be very competitive at all times and doesn't seem to waver where he gives up an at-bat or gives way too much value to another one.
Has his progression from his freshman year to now maybe taking you by surprise or a little bit, or is this kind of what you expected from him?
No, I mean, recruiting, the rules have changed a little bit. If you date back to when we first watched him, he was recruited by our staff as a pitcher and an outfielder. So the pitching has definitely gone away. So if you look at the whole progression, it makes you smile, laugh, appreciate where he's at. But if you just talk about from day one, he has always shown the ability to hit. So it's been more about adding the physicality, which they're in the weight room now. And I mean, if you just walk, he's very strong and has put in a lot of work to do so. Such a better base runner than he was when he first got here, and has become, something that is more than reliable in the outfield for us, and just has a real good feel for the game. Not that he didn't early, but I think he's matured in a lot of areas that now prop up his hitting even more, which has kind of always been there, at least to an extent.
Is there less of a worry about Hoover hampering your NCAA tournament preparation when you know you're going to be hosting that first weekend?
Maybe. I hadn't thought of it that way, but if you go, some teams will leave Saturday, stay in Hoover Saturday night, and if they win it, they would stay in Hoover all the way till Sunday. Or even I was on a team, previously where we stayed Sunday night after we played in the finals. So if you were then to go on the road for regional after that, that is a lot of hotel room nights. And it's not like you can't perform under those circumstances. Last year, quick turnaround for us between Clemson and Southern Miss, and a lot of hotel nights combined in between. But you would like to get into routines. And I think being in Hoover, staying in nice hotels they put you up in, they take such good care of you. The city's done an unreal job. So I think once you're there, the circumstances are ideal for our guys to get rest. Once you're on the field there, it's chaos. It's a tournament. Who knows? There's rain delays and things like that. So it's up to them and up to us to help them to manage, their workload a little bit. But these aren't guys that have been in the NBA since they got drafted out of high school. Workload is probably a little over-exaggerated.
What's gone into Burke, his transformation of being a really good defensive first baseman?
I think taking pride in it. He's always kind of had good actions over there. And I think taking pride in it and then making adjustments. There's been some guys on our team, and our team in general has reflected that. We've kind of continued to push forward a little bit. We've talked about that in here with you guys. Like, we don't have our final set rotation or this or that. I mean, we kind of settled into, for the most part, some stuff, but there's still some variability. There's still some areas where you can see guys getting better. We've started to, don't get picked off on a couple line drive balls this weekend was huge for us. Maybe goes unnoticed, but for coaches, those are things maybe we're doing better now than we were. And so he's just taking pride in it and continued to evolve a little bit. But I think the root of how he is as a teammate with the other first baseman and how he plays the game and approaches it, his best coach here is Luke Lipsius. And that's saying a lot because him and Josh are pretty dang close. But Luke gets a lot of credit for that. It's kind of cool to see the team element on the current team, but also if you go outside of our inner family circle right now, there's some spokes coming off that, if that makes sense.
Tony, you talked about maturity. Is this team built to handle the grind of tournament play?
Yeah, I think so because of experience of, seeing what it looks like, but then also knowing what it takes to navigate it. Because what can happen, and a freshman can go out and have a phenomenal season. We got some freshmen doing well for us. A lot of times what hurts a freshman is not the ability. They're just so dang eager. I want to. And I think there's an interesting calm about the team. When we get into all those one-to-one Sundays or day threes that we've had, there's an interesting calm about them. Even the one we lost in Tuscaloosa, even though we've obviously gotten better from there. And so some guys have experienced it either in junior college with other schools or here, or even watching it on TV when they were a signee with us. And so I think they know how to, if you're talking about managing a workload, that's a bigger one to me, is your excitement and your giddiness, and when do you celebrate and when do you get upset and when do you cheer for this or that. I think this group has that as a strength.
You were at softball yesterday. It's no secret you're a big Tennessee basketball fan. How fun is it right now to be on Rocky Top and to be a part of Tennessee athletics? Yeah, it's great. And the fan base, I mean, the one part that's bad on this campus is this fly will not leave me alone. But other than that, everything is, you talk about evolving, everything is pushing forward with the facilities. The fan base has always been, ever since I grew up in St. Louis, I mean, the fan base was very well known. And it's impossible to wear orange and go in an airport, whether they know you are a part of the athletic department or not, they want to talk about it. So all those things are already good and even great, but they're pushing forward. So we got to hold up our weight around here. But that was impressive performance by them yesterday.
When you get into the heat of competition at Hoover, especially on Wednesday when you're throwing guys that maybe wouldn't ordinarily throw in those type of games, do you have to convince yourself to let them go a little longer, like Marcus Phillips or Dylan Lloyd, guys like that?
Yeah, I think we'll kind of script it ahead of time and then just kind of feel it out as the game's going on. And unfortunately, Plan A, as much time as you put into it, rarely occurs. It can if all things go right, but again, I would expect more chaos, and we'll probably end up approaching that game, just piece it together. And the good thing is, like I said, we feel comfortable about the guys we have. We have guys that are getting outs and are getting better at getting outs. We have guys that have gone unused, or I could even say, for their defense, underused, that are available to get outs and capable of doing it. And you'd like to add AJ into the mix, like we talked about a little bit yesterday. So, hey, throw them all in a pile or in a pot. We're just trying to get to 27, and if we play good defense behind them, I think it's a solid enough group that we can stay competitive.
Is AJ still on track as you've talked about him being and what you hope for him to be?
Yeah, I think, you know, when and where and how will depend a little bit. I know I didn't talk with him, I guess. I told you guys he was done getting on the mound before we go there, but he put in some work on the mound today, so which was good. I'd rather he pile up some reps and feel comfortable. So we'll see tomorrow where he's at and then decide where is the best spot to insert him. Because all we're guaranteed is 2 games, so somewhere in those first 2 games.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys.